Oh, welcome. It's the principal. And as we cover the world of everything, and of course, through the needle of golf, I am the honorable. And it's a pleasure. JB Mathers, joined by my sidekick, my partner in crime in this show, semi-pro, Mikey Dominic. And we're joined by a man who has worn many pro hats, including the PGA Tour and looping the bag, most recently for Charles Schwartzel, where I think we learned there's three things about caddying: show up, keep up, and shut up. I know that's the biggest thing that I learned, but Tjaart Van Der Walt joining us all the way from South Africa. So you win the distance category as far as guests go on the pod as well. Tjaart, appreciate you taking time. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, JB. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's a long way away. I've never been known to hit the ball long, but this is a long shot.
Yeah, well, joining us, forget the geography, just having to be on this show. This is what you know where your career is now headed. All right, so you looped on tour. You played professional golf. We were just laughing, telling stories about looking for other people's balls. When you're playing for millions of dollars on tour, hundreds of thousands of dollars online for a certain shot, where is that responsibility and that line of the opposing player and caddy to help look for a ball?
3 minutes, JB. You need to look for 3 minutes and then that's it. But I mean, it's part of the game, isn't it? You know, we can joke about it and be, funny and make stories up, but it goes both ways too here. So if you spend your time looking for a golf ball, it'll come back. But there comes that time where you bite your tongue and do your bit, and hopefully you find it, and vice versa.
Well, speaking of looking for balls and pulling the trigger, I want to get both of your guys' thoughts. And Mike, I think we've touched on this before. I'm a firm believer. I think the PGA Tour, all levels of pro golf, they need to go with the shot clock. We see it in all other major sports. I love the fact that at some point, Steph's got to pull the trigger, Andy Reid's got to call the play, and it's just painful sometimes to watch these guys grind out for 10 minutes over a 10-foot putt, or go back and forth on what they're going to hit on their 150-yard wedge shot. What is the feeling from you guys out there in that professional golf world when it comes to a shot clock? And I guess I'm looking from the fan perspective.
I'll go first.
I think you go. You got the opinion.
Yeah, I think definitely needed. It is a tough game. It's on the limit there on taking too long to play. It's been a tough for many, many years, and I think why not? If they can do it at tennis, which they're not doing that aggressively, it's just going to create content for the fans to talk about, which is what we want in the game at the moment. So yeah, I'm a big yes on that shot clock.
No, I am too. I know back then, before it was the DP World Tour, the European Tour had a couple events where they experimented with the shot clock, and it was great. I mean, I think they put 45 seconds on it from when he pulled the club, right? And we've seen it this year on tour more than any. The most painful of all people is Brian Stewart. And I mean, he pulls his club and he's anywhere between 60 and 120 seconds before he pulls the trigger. And he's standing over the ball for, I think I counted, it was 45 seconds this last week at the Wyndham Championship on a punch out shot, where all he had to do was just punch it out back in the fairway. And he's taken 9 or 10 looks at the hole, which is every sports psychologist's dream to try and work with. We've seen on Twitter, Grayson Murray and Kevin Na get into it big time because, Grayson got paired with him and he just sits there and goes, "Hey, you're taking too slow." And Kevin Na goes, "Well, if you would take longer, maybe you would make more cuts," stuff like that. And it's a game where I don't think it needs to cater to, the millennials, the Gen Yers, the Gen Zers, whatever you talk about, where it has to be instantaneous. But, if you're sitting there, and I know you've seen this too, Tjaart, where it's like, if I'm sitting over there and I already have my distance, I know what club I'm going to hit, and then I got to wait for this guy over here to do 93 things on his checklist before he hits a shot. And then before he pulls the club, then he gets over it, then he's going back to his bag. That stuff drove me nuts when I was playing.
Yeah. I think you're 100% right there, Michael. I think I got wrapped on the knuckles early on in my career, being deliberate or not ready. And I think that's the key. Just be ready when it's your shot. You can do so much building up to the shot to be ready. And it can be seen as maybe moving a little bit while the other guy's playing or whatever, but don't disturb. But just be ready. Have your glove on, have your number, have your process going. By the time it's your turn to hit, just hit.
Yeah, just
Who
hit.
got on your
100%
ass,
agree
Tjaart?
with that.
Was it your coach? Was it an official? Was it playing partners? Who basically got the message across that it was time to speed up?
I think it was a combo, JB. There was a couple of players and then officials kind of helping you along the way, just saying, listen, you're borderline. So if you do like to take more time than the next guy, but just be ready. When it's your turn to hit, be ready. Don't when the guy hit, then put on your glove, then pick the club, then start your process before the guy's, hitting. Just be ready. So yeah, it was a combo there of players and officials.
Tjaart, tell us about your upbringing. I mean, what a story. South Africa. My understanding is you picked up golf kind of late. South Africa, of course, has a great golf tradition. You ended up at Central Alabama. That's how you know you live far away, when you can convince a kid that Central Alabama is a place that you'd want to move to across the way. He's probably like, oh, it's got palm tree. I mean, I don't know. I would love to hear the sales pitch, or maybe you just wanted to get to America that bad. But talk about taking that leap of faith from South Africa to the States, and then you went pro. And my understanding, according to at least the stuff on the internet, so that's got to be true, you went pro down in South Africa, and then eventually Korn Ferry before you found your way on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, long story short, caddied for dad, brother. It was a holiday thing you did golf wise, and picked it up very late. Really only got my first real set probably at 16, 17. We had family in the Carolinas, so we went over trip to the US, spent some time with them, and they like, why don't you come and study and play golf? And the next thing, your recruitment's done way before that. So I had to walk on, and beggars can't be choosers. So I went to a couple junior colleges, and I must be honest, in the Deep South was a wonderful little town. Beautiful golf course, private club. We had everything we needed there. So it was a no-brainer for me to go there as a walk-on, by the way. No bursary, did a little academic stint, and it really opened my eyes, and spent 3-4 years playing amateur golf, and then came back to South Africa after a decent sort of junior college career, whatever you want to call it. Turned pro here after a year of amateur in South Africa, and found the transition, I won't say easy, but very comfortable to play for a living. Played in South America for 5 months. Then played the mini tours in Florida, used to be called the Golden Bear Tour, and then cracked Q School to get on the Korn Ferry. In those days, you could qualify for the PGA Tour by Q School, and missed out a couple of times. Then played Korn Ferry for 3 years, and got my card eventually through that and Q School to go on the PGA Tour. And then the interim too, played a couple of times in Europe. Went to Q School there, got a card early on where I had too many choices almost. Had Korn Ferry, European Tour, Sunshine Tour. What do you do? And then had a couple injuries along the way, but had a decent career. Made a living out of playing golf, and the rest is sort of out there. But yeah, I've been fortunate as a youngster to have multi-sport sort of upbringing as a South African. Rugby, cricket, tennis, bit of track and field. So I guess that helped me along the way, which I kind of encourage as I'm going along. When you get to dial it in, but don't shy away from playing a few sports growing up.
So you said you found the transition to the Pro Tour, I don't want to say easy, but maybe easier than most, because I think that would be tough to actually have to putt, for your mortgage, for, dinner on the table, things of that nature. So how would you talk about the experience of then what's the grind like trying to stay on tour? And what do you think in the end got you off the PGA Tour? Was it just the level of play out there, or the injuries?
I think a little bit of both, because you cannot play while you're injured. Although mine injury is okay, but I battled quite really with a wrist injury and elbow injury that just escalated to more, and to where I eventually could not play anymore and had to get it looked after. 3-4 surgeries in the wrist and one in the elbow. I eventually took almost a year off, and then got going again. and 2009. I'm talking the point between 2006 and 8, and then the whole of 2008. Had surgeries, came back, went back on the Corn Ferry. I didn't want to go back to the Corn Ferry, so what we did, Vicky and I decided to pursue our dreams in Asia and Europe. And actually, the last sort of 6 or 7 years of my playing career, from about 2011 through 2018, was mainly in Europe and Asia, and kind of played probably better golf there than I played early on in my career. So yeah, I don't know if that answers it, but it was if I probably managed myself a little bit better earlier on with injuries, I probably could have sustained a few more years out on tour.
That sounds a lot like, so my neighbor here in Scottsdale is Gabriel Yetstead, who played on tour. He won a couple times. I'm sure you've run into him before, but that was back in the day. Yeah, that was back in the day where if you had a bump or an ache or something like that, you're playing through it, popping 6 to 8 aspirin a day, having a couple cocktails at night, anything that you could do in order to grind it out, in order to make some money, keep your card and keep it going. And I remember him telling me, he had a wrist injury, then he had a rib injury, and he kept playing through it, which ultimately ended up, I don't want to say it sabotaged his career, but if he said he would have taken 6 to 8 months off and just got healthy and wasn't grinding all the time, he probably could have come back and played solid again, for 4 or 5 years. And that was when, Tiger was making his run. He was, I think he was second or third at the PGA Championship at Medina before, I think, listen to him, he bogeyed 3 of the last 4 holes, trying to finish up that one. That was when Tiger and Sergio were battling. But the injuries, like you said, golf is the one sport in the world, I think, you can't play injured. And I mean, it could be a little nick, or you could be a little stiff or something like that and get it around. But if you got a wrist injury that's hindering you at the bottom of the golf swing, or hitting wedges out of tight lies and stuff like that, get that reverberation, it's one sport you can't do that.
Well, Mike, to me, it kind of brings us to the Live Tour discussion, because like you said, you can't take time off in the current world of golf or the PGA. Whereas, if Mike Trout busts his elbow, he's going to take the time off it needs to heal, but he's going to continue to get paid. And that's, I think, kind of Tjaart, Mikey, that's kind of got the PGA Tour where they're at right now.
No, totally. I'd love to hear Tjaart's opinion on this, especially, caddying for, Charles and the stuff that's going on out there. So I'd love to hear this.
I think playing once a month, obviously, and now I think they're building up to 2 events a month till they get to Miami with the team sort of final, but definitely plays a big role there. Where going back to Gabe Hirsch, I know Gabe not extremely well, but we played a few times together, and I know he battled with injuries, and not having that security that you can just take 6 to 8 months off unless you're a multiple winner or major winner, you kind of feel like you have to play. Now with Liv coming along, we're only playing once a month. Next year, probably a couple times a month. What a way to do it, where you can play once or twice a month, have some time for recovery, work on what you need to work on. So they're definitely onto something, and I'll leave it at that for now. But I think that's a lot of guys sort of right up their alley now, being able to play once or twice a month, making or having opportunities to have a nice career here in the latter part.
Well, not only that, but what about, the youngers? I know you're involved with a lot of the college golf. You are too, Mike. You're right there in Scottsdale. You see these young kids. I think really what's going to dictate the future of Liv and the PGA. When LeBron James comes out of high school, he doesn't have to, go to AAU camp and prove himself or make the most 3-pointers or do something. He's going to get drafted. He's going to be set up. He's going to have time to be groomed, and he's got guarantees. I would assume the Liv moving forward, aren't they going to draft guys, whether it's the top guy from Texas or ASU or SMU? And if I'm a kid, and I've proven myself for 4 or 5 years in the NCAA level against the best golfers my age, why the hell do I want to go to Q School or go to the Corn Ferry Tour when, I want to be like my mentors or my peers, in the NFL and in the NBA and Major League Baseball, where I've got a chance to get groomed and I'm going to get drafted, and the work I put in is going to be advantage moving forward?
Yeah, why not? If they get to that point where that is how they're going to do it, and I think that's clear, that's the road ahead. Why not? And I think that's why you're already seeing some of these youngsters come on board, getting guarantees to go out there and work on their game and play. So definitely a right step in the direction from a draft perspective. Yeah.
Well, I agree too. And, and it's not like I'm against the PGA Tour or against the Live Tour, but, you've seen it, I've seen it. It was my first year playing when it was the last year you could go to Q school and get your PGA Tour card. And then, so it was actually Q school. Now you go to the Corn Ferry Tour, and these guys that are even on the Corn Ferry Tour in the top 25, they might say, hey, he has 125,000 in earnings for the year. That doesn't count the expenses. I mean, those guys are going to Latin America, South America, Mexico, all over the place. And it's like, for less than a quarter of the budget that the PGA Tour is doing it. So when you have a guy like, mentioned the youngsters, David Puig, who's coming out of Arizona State, he doesn't come from a lot of money in Spain. If he can go sign and play 3 or 4 events on the Live Tour and get $250,000 to $350,000 as a 22, 23-year-old, and then he goes, hey, my contract with the Live is up, it didn't work out, I'm going to go back to Q school. That is just, for somebody that age that's trying to make it, that's money that you dream about in order to have in your pocket to go to Q school, pay for events, pay for your travel, because the money that you're playing for trying to get there is pretty much garbage.
Yeah. No,
so
100%.
Tjaart, you were on, Charles Schwartzel's bag, even at the beginning of this year. I'm sure Liv was a conversation starter, and, you don't have to delve in too far, but, for guys like Charles Schwartzel, who's got a storied career, maybe it is the obvious, but, why the Live Tour?
To be honest, JB, I was not privy to that conversation, so
Okay.
I cannot give you that direct answer. I know it was a talking point last year, not Charles himself, but some of the guys on tour talking on about Live and what was going to happen and how the teams are going to get selected on the invitational side. So as a personal opinion, and not wanting to talk on anybody's behalf, but why would they not do it? They mid to late 30s. They've had a good career. Play once a month and get paid a ton of money. Why would I not consider it if that was the point? And it's kind of a hard one to see where these guys are, because they've made good money in golf. They don't want to play every week, and that's why I saw it as no surprise when they did go over.
Okay, so for both of you guys, what about the Taylor Gooch? He went over. I think it's easy for Henrik Stenson and Charles, Phil Mickelson. You're on the back end of the career. You've got a PGA resume. You've made a ton of money, and why not more? Because it's going to be hard to make $150 million moving forward on the PGA Tour, especially when you're in your 40s and getting older. But put yourself in the shoes of the young up and comers, the Wyndham Clark, friend of the show, guys like that, who really have to, maybe if they're going to get to a fork in the road, and they don't know how this thing's going to play out long term. What would you guys say to a 27, 28, 26-year-old guy who's been on the tour? He's not, well, whatever, he's at any level of the tour, but he's got a long career ahead of him. Which fork in the road should he take, and why?
Well, I'll just start that off and just touch on it because, one of Taylor Gooch's legal counsels is a buddy of mine. And when he made that announcement to go over there, I was texting him, and he just said he wasn't going to commit until there were bigger names signed. So, Phil Mickelson was going through his whole ordeal. But as soon as Dustin Johnson signed, he said that was when he knew it was legitimate with what was going on. And over a career on the PGA Tour with Taylor Gooch, he's an up and comer. He's been playing well. He's now won a couple times. Again, it's going to be hard over his career to have $150 million of career earnings. And to get that guaranteed money, plus your bonuses and whatever you get for tournament, like Char was saying, I don't see how you can turn that down.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. When this whole thing started with it, Taylor, Charles, Louis, Phil, all these guys. I had a brief conversation with a friend of mine in Texas that's been in business, you know, and I said, what do you think of this? And he immediately replied, just money, money, money. And he said, if money's not the answer, ask the question, because money is just in there. And I think in sport, and you guys will agree with me because you cover sport across the board. You have to follow the money, and if you don't, you're going to get left behind. So, young, old, whatever. And I think if these guys see it as opportunity, they're gonna go for it. You look at one of the youngsters on the Stingers side there. He is fairly well known. Played Challenger, played a couple of European events, mainly Sunshine Tour events, and he's in the thick of it with Louis Shaw and Brandon on making good money. Where would Henny have been if he didn't go across to live? So there's a lot of good stories that's going to come from this, I believe.
Well, speaking of stories, over at Guinness one time, we'll all get together in Scottsdale or Blue Jack or South Africa, and you can tell us a story about, the biggest douchebag you had to deal with on tour. But between the pro-ams you've played, guys you played with, do you have when you think about just a memory or something that blows you away that you experienced on a golf course with somebody we would all know, maybe a JD, maybe you played with a Tiger Woods? Is anything, I think some pro-am stuff you've involved in, whether with celebrities, any rounds stick out more than the other, or something that may or not happened, or maybe when you were, looping?
Off the top of my head, no, but there's been many sort of occasions along the way where professional golf sort of came and gone. That sort of became just next. But I've had a lot of fun since I stopped playing competitive and having fun with friends. But I think the one that stands out was on this recent trip. JB, you were part of it all, and we teeing off at Hoylake at Royal Liverpool, and a buddy of mine of 25 plus years, I look up and he's got a bottle of tequila sticking out his back pocket as he's about to take off. And I had to just snap a photo of it because, bless his soul, he's been a great friend, and golf has been probably his biggest challenge in life, because he remembers 24 years ago in Gulfport, Mississippi. I told him, I said, TK, it's a miracle you make contact with a golf ball with all the loops and roundabouts you go through at the impact. And it's never
the talking to himself.
Yeah, and it's never left him. And it was so funny just seeing the banter between him and the rest of the group the whole week, and how intense he is about life and stuff. So that probably is TK being nonstop, how he's such an introvert till he has a couple drinks, and he is the life of the party. JB, you were part of that.
He's a rock star. Talk about just the life and the passion he has for it. We're talking about that death match, Larry versus TK, and it got heated and it got exchanged. But Larry's family's going through some health issues. I won't dive into that, but TK had closed Larry out, and they were walking down the fairway, and TK had his arm around Larry, and he was just in tears, just crying in tears, and for Larry, and telling how much he loved him. And that's a great experience for golf. And Mikey, you'll appreciate this. The first round I played with Tjaart, hey, you've played with me enough to know birdies equal birdie juice. And Tjaart's like, hey, I don't drink on the golf course. And then a couple birdies later, and having to watch us play all day, is like, fuck it, maybe a little nip. And I think by 3 or 4 rounds later, I'm passing him as we're a group or two behind. He's like, God damn it, where you're supposed to leave the flash for me on the tee box, JB. What the hell?
Introducing him to the way of the degenerate world. I love that.
Well, Mikey, as I told him, I don't make the rules. I just follow the rules.
Totally. But I did say, as JB at Troon there at the turn, when I had a can of Guinness in my bag, and I wanted to see how long you can last, and I did save you that one.
You did. You're a good man. And I got to know, what was it like playing Troon again when the last time you played it? Oh, I don't know, a top 15 performance in the Open Championship.
It was a blast, and I think I told this story too while we played. Troon, obviously a great memory for the Open, and having a local caddy there on the bag and having some family around was truly special. And then having to obviously not played Prestwick, but knowing the airport there, and have a friend that's obviously in the airline business, and he trained there for 18 months right next to Royal Troon, and he wasn't a golfer, and having to take off and land right in between Prestwick and Troon was something for him. He's never played the two courses, so it's a great story. When we're standing, I think we were on like 11 or 12 tee box, and the old lady came over, the Boeing 747-400 come right. Oh, we could.
I think
we
you could
almost
hit an 8-iron off the bottom of that airliner.
Yeah.
That was big.
Yeah, it was really special for me to go back there. It really was. It was a great trip. I know you guys had fun, but I really enjoyed showing you guys a bit of my world.
Mikey, you of course tried to do some qualifying and stuff. You went over to Scotland, played on the other side, the links golf. Let me just, ask you guys what, not only links golf, but more importantly, just what golf means in that part of the world. How would you guys compare golf stateside to the United Kingdom, and then, just the nuances and, just being part of their culture and why people should experience it?
Well, from an American perspective, I'll tell you what, I don't know if Tjaart can agree with me on this, but I was treated like dog shit by the RNA every time I needed a ruling, because like, oh, American, yeah, no, you don't get relief from that, versus like, the guy from Wales or the guy from Norway, it's like, oh yeah, you know what, that's a burrowing animal hole, just drop it over here. I'm like, whatever. I did get an argument with the rules official who was a former Ryder Cupper. I can't remember his name, but he actually tried to call me and told me to pick up the pace on a slow play penalty after we had spent 2 minutes and 49 seconds looking for this guy from France's 8th provisional of the day through 12 holes. And so I had gone over to my bag. I pulled a club. I'm standing over it. Wind completely does a 180. I went back, pulled the club, took about 14 seconds, and then ripped it. And he comes up to me and he goes, can I have a word with you? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it took you over a minute to hit your golf shot. I said, actually, it took me about 14 seconds, but we had to just spend 5 minutes in the gorse looking for this guy's ball. I'm not the reason that we're 2 holes behind, but that was just my opinion on that. But with that being said, when you think about it, the tradition over there of playing golf and how much they have an appreciation for the game, like David Sims said in Tin Cup, tradition, integrity, and honor. They have that over there versus when you're playing in the States, you got some guys that are from, Kansas or California or wherever they are. It's just a different vibe. Like the guys over there, when I played with them, I didn't see them notoriously get upset. I didn't see them throw clubs. I didn't see them throw hissy fits, because it was like they had a respect for the game, versus in the United States, it's like if there's someone calling you on a rules infraction, somebody gets all bent out of shape about it and a fist fight almost breaks out. So that I enjoyed playing over there. I really did. And just, they really care about you play, and it's just like, how do you like the golf course? Is there anything that we can do for you? Thank you for coming over and spending the time over here to try and qualify for our tour. Versus the US, it's like, well, thank you for coming to Dayton Valley, Nevada. I'm sorry I blew 80 miles an hour every day. Hope you have a great time at the casino tonight. So yeah, I loved it over there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. The respect, integrity of the game, and the way it's played, and the appreciation that we do go over there and support the sort of history of golf is why I've always enjoyed going there. Do you always get the best line? No, but that's how the game was played as it lies. That's how it was invented. So there's definitely appreciation. Being South African and having lived in the States, and still American citizen by naturalization, have appreciated all parts of golf, whether it's in the UK, US, and or here. But we do have a similar. We live and play by the same rules, but our golf is totally different. So whether I came from South Africa or the US across, we always felt like we appreciated the game on that side of the pond.
Yeah, and back to your playing career. I was looking it up this morning. In 2001, like you were saying, you got stretched across all bands. You got your European tour card, but then you chose to play on the nationwide tour for a couple years. Why did you choose the nationwide tour over the European tour? Was it because of familiarity with golf in the States from where you have played? Was it because there were more cards available in order to get onto the PGA Tour? What was your decision making in that?
At the time, I was living in the US anyway. I was set up there, and I felt it was easier to get from tournament to tournament in the US and playing. I think it was that combination of that there were the accessibility, the cost of travel was a lot easier and less expensive than going in Europe and being in a different country every week. And then having those 15, I think at that stage was 15 or 20 cards that were given to us on the nationwide, I think was my main sort of goal. Saying, okay, I'm going to play a year, try it out, and I did it for a few years where I stuck to the nationwide, and then eventually, got over the line. But compared to playing Europe, that was, I guess, the main reason was the easiest, or the comfort and being in my own home there to play was probably the reason. And instead of traveling in Europe, convenience.
I know you said follow the money, so wipe the money away really quick. What was your favorite part about professional golf and least favorite part about professional golf?
I think the traveling week to week is what got to me a little bit, JB. But gee whiz, if I'm not going to name and shame, but
you can name and shame. We love that stuff here. Come on.
We're not about facts. We're not politically correct. You can go just get us canceled.
Drop names. Let's go.
Yeah.
No,
I want hate mail.
I can't pinpoint them right now, but I think over the time of playing, there's probably 5 guys I probably didn't get on with at the time, regardless of what it was, probably a bit of gamemanship or whatever. But there's not many guys I would not choose to play golf ever again, or not play with them again, in the sense that golf sort of brings a certain type of character, and we all play it because we're cooked in the head. And it challenges and pushes us to all sorts of decisions on and off the course. But I don't think there's one guy I'll say I will never play with them again. And that was the uniqueness for me about golf was, we compete and whatever, and then afterwards we have lunch and talk about it. I mean, where in what sport do you do that? I guess that's the key to sport. But the travel got to me a little bit eventually. Having to be in a different place every week after week is what got me a little bit. But I enjoyed the challenge of the game, and it still challenges me. But I've learned so much over time, and you can always look back and say, hey, I wish I knew this then. It doesn't work like that in life. You got to just take it in its stride.
Well, do you have any aspirations of giving it a go when you turn 50? Maybe even like a Steve Alker, and going from somebody the golf world would have to know to a household name on the senior tour?
I've said this many times, JP. No, right now, I can't see myself playing full time again, and it's not something I can just walk in and doing. I see myself just enjoying the game now socially, and I think that's where I'll remain right now.
As a looper, obviously Charles a hell of a player. He's got, his resume speaks for himself. But was it tough going there and you're walking around Augusta or wherever you are, the Zurich Classic, where you want to be the one pulling the trigger? Or how much did you have to think about, the guy you're looping for's game when you're giving him advice, opposed to what you would have done in that situation?
Look, off the tee and some of the long irons that Charles can hit, I don't think there's many guys in the world can do that. But gee whiz, inside 150, I wanted to take the club every time because, man, it's not that hard. And the rules of, like we opened the show on keep up, shut up. I did that maybe too often, and maybe should have spoke up a little bit occasionally. And we had words on, I think it was on the 3M on the back 9 at 3M on round 3 or 4, whatever it was, where I think we get so intense and so wind up about trying to perform that we forget the person to your side, left or right, whatever they're carrying the bag, is there to help. And one stage I had to just pull him aside, say, hey, buddy, I'm on your side here. Huh? I'm not here working against you. We all work together. And I think that sort of penny dropped and ended up having a good week. But I appreciate how hard it is to play, but I think we take it way too serious. And it's easy. I think it's easy to say, but if we can all just dial it down or back a little bit and just take a couple of breaths and just take it all in, man. Life's too short to get so caught up in the moment, man.
Because I actually had the privilege of seeing Charles this year at Augusta when he had a little bit of a resurgence, getting back into contention. Danny Willett, past champion, was playing well. He was the only guy to give me knuckles, by the way, was Danny Willett, which I thought was pretty cool. But it was great to see Charles. He's playing, I don't even know what irons he has in the bag now, but he had like the old Sim2, TaylorMade in there. He just had a mixing collection of all this stuff in his bag, and all these guys, like the Colin Morikawas and the Scotty, they got all the new stuff. And Charles just like, I don't have a club deal. I'm just going to put in the bag what works and go rip it.
Yeah, he plays the Mura irons. He likes that sort of consistency out there, and that, to be honest, the first 2 months is all we did last year was just getting his irons dialed in and his wedges dialed in, because he was all over the place there, playing the wrong shafts in the irons, and he eventually went back to what setup he liked when he played well. And regardless of what they wanted to play, he liked what was in the bag at the time, whether it was new, old, or whatever. As long as it worked, he was happy with it. So yeah, that was sort of the setup. He was one of those guys that played Nike clubs that came across, and then Nike stopped manufacturing stuff, and I think that kind of did him in a little bit. But luckily, reconnected with a couple of guys and made the wedges there in Dallas or Fort Worth. So that's why he's playing some good golf again.
Yeah, those are great wedges. Those are great wedges that he's playing. Those are like top of the line.
Artisan, can we mention that name on
oh, you can definitely mention that. I mean, the guy who works for them is like the only guy that touches Tiger's clubs, But I mean, they're very expensive each. The only reason I found out about them is a buddy of mine was playing them, and I hit him and I go, these things are phenomenal. Then he told me the retail price for them. And I go, that's not going to make that much of a difference for me. But the artisan wedges, from what I heard, are phenomenal. But do you think, I think him with a lot of other people, because you say he's so good off the tee with his long irons, do you think going to PXG screwed him up a little bit? Because their driver statistically compared across the board is horrible.
I don't think the clubs, for that matter, and maybe they were still in development in those stages, but I've recently gone across to PXG and I love it. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. I know they get made there in your backyard, but I know a couple of the Texas guys, the regional guys, and I have a couple of guys here in Fancourt that actually just said, listen, hit a shot. I said, I've seen this stuff before, man. I'm not going to try. I had one shot and that was it. I said, I got to try. So I spoke to my buddy Fuchs in Texas, and luckily Joel Krabel is the guy. I played a lot of golf with Joel on tour. And
Stanford legend.
So they got me across, and I'm telling you, man, that this stuff is next level. From performance, it's really given me a little bit of a lease on life here going into late 50s. So maybe watch out, man.
Well, Mikey, so he does, Tjaart plays the PXGs. And the funniest story, there's a lot of great stories we had on a trip. And for the folks that don't know, did a 2-week junket in the UK. I did a week solo in Wales, and then the highlight hooking up with Tjaart and Signature Golf. And we can hit on that here in a few. But we played West Lancs because Tjaart wouldn't allow us on his home course of Hillside. No, they were hosting.
Why would he want you out there?
I mean, you, Mike, if anyone can appreciate not wanting me at their club, would be you. JB's going to drink too much Fireball, shoot 105, and embarrass
on the cart girl.
I get it. Well, unfortunately, I don't have cart girls. That's, there are highs and lows about UK golf. They have not invented the cart girl yet, which there's a multitude of reasons for that. But so we play West Lancs, and I think Tjaart shoots like 2 under. The next day, we're at Royal Lytham in St. Anne's, which, is a little snooty, and, it's an open course. And he is not in the group with us, but we all kind of are bullshitting. And one of the guys, the caddies, are there any golfers in this group? And we're like, no, but, the guy in the group behind us, he's really good. He shot 2 under at West Lancs yesterday. And the caddy, just this old, dry, messed up teeth, bright red from drinking his whole life, white hair. And he's like, well, he ain't breaking par today. And oh shit. I think he shot 4 under that day for the record. So.
Again, going back to some of the stiffness I encountered. There's no way you can hit that shot. Blah 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 blah. I mean, it's Scotland, right?
Well, no, but Tjaart, I think the thing I noticed, and you really pointed out to me, England was much stuffier than Scotland.
Totally, it is. It always has been. But yeah, Scotland was a lot more friendly and welcoming. The fact that we could wear our short socks, no matter what color, in and out at Troon, Prestwick, and or Turnberry was loving it. We're down south. If you show up with your grey socks, then buy white socks in the pro shop. So
the only bouncer I saw in the UK was the guy at Royal Lytham downstairs who was making yens, make sure he had hired to the dress code before he could go upstairs and finish his pint of Guinness.
I tell you what, the longer I've played golf, I knew I was such a fish out of water, because I was down working with Gabe at TPC here one day, and I don't know what it was I was come from, but I had like the pants and the collared shirt, looking like, the tour bag looked like a total pro. And then I see Kevin Chappell, James Hahn, who's the guy who's playing the senior tour now from Alex Cheka, and they got untucked shirts, like basketball shorts on, like tennis shoes. They're just sitting there like, I feel like such a freaking tool right now. Like I'm all about like looking presentable, but if a course is like you go to some of these courses and they go, hey, like you're on it, we don't care if you tuck your shirt in. You're like Blue Jack National, we don't care if you tuck your shirt in. We don't care if you do this. Then you get to some places that are like, we're about tradition here, so you need to tuck your shirt. I'm like, well, listen, I got I got $150 Peter Millar shirt on, great shorts and whatever. Yeah, I can tuck. Then you got the guy who's wearing like Vineyard Vines or some crap. It's just like tucking it in.
I a couple quick stories real quick, and we'll shut this down. So through Wales, I had a good time, and I'm playing at Conway with an English couple, and he had a couple things that cracked me up. One, I was impressed how fast everyone plays, but I didn't find as many golf balls in Wales as I would if I were looking at the junk in America. I'm talking to the guy, and he's like, oh, well, for fuck's sake, JB, you Americans, you look 2 seconds for the ball, then you go drop one and take your penalty. We find the golf ball. And so he's kind of prim and proper. And then he's like, oh, I was in Florida golfing. I said, yeah. And he's like, the guys in my group were playing music. And I'm like, oh, he's about to have a panic. He's like, it was fucking awesome. He's like, I really hope that shit catches on here in the UK. Because it was great. And dress codes, I played in Aberdovi, which was the height of the heat wave. And like a lot of these traditional courses are just maybe that part of the country. There's no turn stands. There's no cart girl. It's like a gazillion degrees out, 1,000% humidity. And it's 9 holes straight out for 2.5 miles, 2.5 back. I had a heat stroke by like hole 10, out of water by 5. I immediately get to the clubhouse and like just drench myself in water to attempt to cool down. But you have to have a post pint. I mean, that's the whole point. And I literally, the bar stops, like the music stops, and the bartender looks from me across the room, and you can just hear him go, oh, the man from California had a tough day at the golf course today. The heat was real. It was real. Finally, a real guest on the show, Lulu. But yes.
I've got a quick, before we let Tjaart go here, because you know me, I'm like Michael Breed, except people like me.
And you don't hate the look.
So back through your playing career real quick, just so people know what we're dealing with. So 2003, you go back, you get your card through Q School, right? Some of the notable names in this field: Michael Allen, right, who's like a Q School legend; West Shore Jr., Ken Duke, Hunter Mahan, Todd Hamilton, Kevin Noss, Steve Pate, Boyd Summerhays, Brian Gay. That's some company.
Yeah.
That's some company.
Yeah, so that year, if you look at '01, well, even 2000, 2001, 2002, maybe three. I think I missed out on the nationwide by one or two spots. Maybe one year was a little more, but it always boiled down to the Tour Champions. I just couldn't pull it through, and I go back to finals, miss, and then that year I came home and I went back to Q School with one of my better friends. And he decided to go and caddy for me at finals at Q School in Orlando. And to me, that was just the change, having a friend on the bag, pulling me through a really tough time. But I remember this vividly, going down 18, and I hit a wedge in there like 10 feet. And I look at him and says, do you think we need to make that to get our card? And he almost punched me. He says, I think you've made it by 5 shots. So just relax and finally relax. So that was just a little bit of a tip of the hat there by a friend. But yeah, there was some good company over the years we played with. It was a lot of fun looking back.
Yeah, because after that, 2005, you lost in a playoff at the Buick to Brad Faxon.
Now, yeah, Tjaart, let's hear this story, because I've heard it.
I want to hear this.
Before, but can you tell us the Brad Faxon playoff story?
So it's unique because that's probably the best story, but I'm fighting injury. I'm playing this, that, the other. I meet this chiropractor from Australia that really helps me a lot that year and get me mobile, and playing through the pain. He got me going, and that week was just special because I missed the cut the week before. I think I went home for the weekend. I flew into Connecticut. I've actually played on the Tuesday with John Cook, and says, man, you swing it well, yada, yada. And I always enjoyed John's company, and go into Wednesday, I felt okay. Thursday played well. And I just liked the setup of the golf course, and day to day it just got better and better. But the greens were firm and fast. I holed out my second shot on 17 on, I think, Friday afternoon. Made a good birdie to finish. Saturday was a different story. I played solid, but I'm in the lead. I think I got, now I can't remember. Justin Rose in the last group, Ben Crane, Justin Rose, and then myself and Jerry Kelly in the penultimate group, and we all playing well. And I'm watching the leaderboard, and I'm going, Faxon's just on fire. I think he shoots 61 the last round. He's 9 under to take the lead. And I'm on, I don't think I've just made the turn. You got famous Fierty walking with us, and Jim Nance. I can just hear the music going on CBS in my ear. But I play, and I think I shanked it on hole 12. And we did find the ball, but I made it. I think I made a double. And then 13's not an easy tee shot with the water down the right. I end up making birdie. I birdie 15. I do not birdie 16, and I bogey. Sorry, I do not birdie 15. I bogey 16, and I go down 17, and I'm like, we got to do something. And my caddy looked at me and said, we need to finish birdie. And I knock it 8 down to like 8 feet, made it. And on 18 in regulation, I had a good drive down there, hit a wedge to about, I think, 5 feet left where I made it to get in the playoff. So to make this long story great, I had a really good end to the game. And then we go down the playoff. Now, Brad's been not doing much for like, I guess, an hour at least. We go back to the tee, and he cold snap hooks one off the tee in the bunker. I drill one down there. I don't know how far it went. It's irrelevant. But I got wedge, and I think he's got a 7-iron in from like 171 or whatever. And I check, this thing comes out the bunker. I'm going, this is looking pretty good, but it comes out a little low, and it pitches, hits, and it goes to like a foot.
Oh, fuck.
And then I get up, and I hit a wedge, and I flushed it, but I hit the flag on my approach.
No.
It catches the flag because it's one of those, and on that trajectory, it'll probably hit and spin back, and who knows, makeable putt. I still had a makeable putt, but it was, instead of being 6 feet, it's now, I can't remember. It was maybe 15, 20 feet above the hole. And I just knew, man, it's slippery down there, and I miss, and he taps in. But the worst thing was walking down the fairway, and we walking up the green. He says, "Man, I thinned that." He told me. Right, that's not what I wanted to hear. But anyway, he was sort of semi-local from that part of the world, and having now met some guys, Seth Wall from the PGA of America. I think he was staying with Brad was staying with him that week, so he had good local support that week. And this foreigner showing up and giving some of the locals a run for their money was a lot of fun that week. Yeah.
God, he couldn't at least told you that was the best shot he'd hit in his entire career.
Yeah, that's what I can you wait the half an hour?
I'm thinking like Matthew Fitzpatrick out of the bunker on 18 at the country club. If he skulls it or blocks it 3 inches, he hits the island or the face that's right there. He had a great shot out of there. Brad Faxon skulls it to a foot. You hit the flagstick, heartbreak.
Yeah, it was. It was probably as close as I would have ever come there to playing through all the challenges at the time. It was really a highlight, and one I don't really want to forget because I played well, but I did lose.
Yeah.
So I got to know. I've always been curious. Do they hand you the big check afterwards? When does the money hit your account? How the hell does the payout actually work on the PGA Tour?
Normally in your account by the Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they do pay quickly.
Let's say, what is it? Quick pay, quick friends.
That's it.
Of course,
yeah.
I did see that guy the other day on Golf Douchebag has his Venmo QR code on his bag. That's
the guy that I want to gamble, because that guy is what we call a golf douche. That guy.
He's good. And Mikey, having gone now to Europe 3 times for golf, planned some, done the tour thing. Tjaart, I got signature golf, absolute home run. And I think the best part is it's easy. And you guys really not only say it's first class, whether it's the golf or the accommodations, or Tommy, even though he doesn't know how to say ice, we'll forgive that. It's simple language barrier on that one. Signature golf, they did an amazing job, and it was, I guess I would just recommend it to anybody who wants to take a trip. And it sounds like they go worldwide, but if you don't want to be a travel agent, you just want to make a phone call, write a check, and have a great time. I can't think of any better to get a hold of than Signature, because there are a lot of golf companies out there, but whether it was saving my ass with a phone in an airport or making sure that my bag was stocked full of ice cold Guinness when I took the course, it was class all the way.
Yeah, no, thank you, JB. It's been good for me, through COVID, getting people on board and actually, going there live and experience it myself as well has been good. That's why I chose to be a part of the team. And if we can help people across the line by just, sending itineraries or doing our thing, that we appreciate the business. And it's been a pleasure to host you guys.
Yeah, we'll put it on the website. We'll get the links and all that stuff on there. But Google Signature Golf, and you can also check Tjaart on Instagram and all the other fun stuff. And of course, It's the Principal podcast as well, located on Twitter, Mikey, or should I say semi-pro?
Oh yeah, well we got a guy coming. I got coffee with him on Wednesday morning, and we're gonna get this thing really ramped up and rolling. A little bit of marketing, try and get some reels out there. But
we got the young kids. Tjaart handle all that social.
I'm more than that. We let the young kids handle that. But as our guests continue to grow, we get guys like you that are absolutely freaking A+ quality. We're looking for it. It's going to be awesome.
Tjaart, appreciate. I know it's hopefully you didn't have to miss your dinner, because that post meal after a workout is tough, and you hit the gym and joined us from South Africa. It's morning here on the West Coast, night there. But appreciate taking the time, and just more importantly, Tjaart, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I definitely consider you a golfing buddy, and looking forward to playing with you again, no matter how many caddies you chew out when we try to make it interesting.
Love it, JP. A pleasure, and thank you for having me on, and look forward to the next catch up.
It's the Principal. Appreciate everyone checking in, and until next time, I'm the Honorable. He's semi-pro. Tjaart was our guest today. Thanks everybody very much.
See you guys.
Awesome stuff, Tjaart. Really appreciate it. Talk to you guys later.
All right, guys. See you, Mike.
Thanks, Tjaart.